Holy crap, guys. I think I accidentally started an AI video trend. Last week, I scribbled a drone path on a Google Earth screenshot, and then I gave it to Omni, Google's new video model, and asked it to imagine the first-person drone view following that path. And somehow, it worked. Not perfectly, it hallucinated, but damn, was it close. And critically, these video models now understand the assignment, that this little red line is the actual camera trajectory. The post went viral on X and people started running with it. I saw creators in the US, China, really all over AI Twitter testing the same idea, remixing it, and even using it to compare Omni against Seedance and other AI video models. So I wanted to make a quick reaction, show you the original experiment, some of the wildest versions people have made, and talk about why this little trend actually points to something bigger. Because these multimodal models like Omni and Seedance are simply a sign of what is to come. Let's get into it. All right, so what the hell is Omni? Omni is Google's new multimodal video model. The idea is that it is natively multimodal in and out. So we can take text as an input, images, audio, and video, and thus also produce any output, starting with video, of course. Think of it like Nano Banana for video, where every turn you can iteratively edit your video. And since this is a true multimodal model and not just a video diffusion model, it's actually grounded in Gemini's world knowledge. And this rich multimodal understanding and world knowledge is why the scribble works at all. All right, so this is the post that started it all. As the input, I took the screenshot of downtown Austin and scribbled this red line. I wanted basically the drone to fly under the bridge, up and to the left towards this Google building. And here's the result I got. I was actually really compelled with how the model was able to spatialize my path and actually give itself some of these cues to fly up towards the building. Now, of course, it's not perfect and you do have this annoying red line, but since this model supports conversational multi-term editing, you just say remove the red line and it does it for you. Now, my actual motivation to even give that a shot actually started here. Before this, I gave Omni a 3D Gaussian splat. So this is like a point cloud Gaussian splat version that you can see over here. And every single white camera frustum you see is the camera pose of the actual path that I took. So given this input of camera poses of a real 3D scan, I wanted to see, could it produce something substantially similar just using this reference? And it turns out it absolutely can. Again, notice how it spatialized the path up the stairs. Now the vegetation is slightly different, but the landmark is very accurate and it is taking the exact path that I asked it to. Now for reference is the actual 3D reconstruction. Notice how I got that staircase, but the vegetation is slightly different. But the structure itself, oh my God, you guys. Now the internet, of course, ran wild and the homie Kitty over here went nuts with this thing. The Great Wall of China going in, out, all around it. And here's the result that you get with Seedance as well. Turns out Seedance can also take these type of prompt references. And hold up, we'll get into a comparison of Omni versus Seedance later in the video. Here's another great example by Rossi. Sort of the idea being if you want to do sort of an architectural fly through and see what it would look like, let's say you're doing a bunch of AI generations, you can also augment it by giving it pointers on like location number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you'll get a result that looks like this. It's actually very compelling if you're concepting, or even if you're doing AI video generation for your own narrative productions, because who the hell wants to sit there and type a convoluted text prompt? Now this one by Yole blew my mind. Notice how it's like whizzing through this tanker over here between all of these objects. It's really quite cool. This other one by Kitty also blew my mind. Notice how it goes under the bridge, whizzes around, and makes its way to the Eiffel Tower. It's a very, very easy way of conditioning these generations. Now you may be wondering, Bilawal, these are all fake generations. Does it actually correspond to the real world? And right now, it kind of doesn't. It's like close enough, like most image to video generations that you might do. But check this out. Tatsuya made this Google Earth Studio render. So this is an actual render of the path against Google's 3D tiles, the photogrammetric data, right? And here's the AI generated version of that from Omni. Looks pretty cool, largely clean, as Tatsuya said, minus that first bridge. So what this tells me is that this is a very effective way for Google to start creating spatial benchmarks. So you take this actual path, run it through Google Earth Studio, that's your ground truth, and then see how close Omni generation can get to that actual reference and ground truth. Essentially a spatial benchmark that Google can ride to the moon, if you ask me. Now, the cool part is you can actually have much more abstract map references. So Tech Hollow was inspired to turn this into Middle Earth. And so the prompt he put in is a Middle Earth prompt down here with an arrow showing which path it's going down. And like you can get some very, very compelling generations this way, right? So imagine taking any kind of cartographic map representation or even a stylized one and using that as a prompt. This could be very useful for historical reproductions or fantasy like this. Now, if you remember some of my old Nano Banana examples, since these models, right, Nano Banana for images and Omni for video have Gemini's world knowledge, meaning they've digested all the text on the internet too, you can actually upload screenshots or videos of the real world and be like, highlight the point of interest, and it'll do a great job of giving you exactly that, including some factoids. So I was really impressed with the fact that these models are even able to understand, oh, that's the point of interest, it's San Francisco Ferry Building, the Palace of Fine Arts, and so forth. Now, in a similar fashion, if you do this with video as well, as the homie Chris did, for example, annotating, taking this right down the road that the Twin Towers are on, you get a very realistic end result. So this is the turn that's being made. That's the one tower in the back. And if you check this out, this is the actual street view image of that location. Pretty freaking good. Now look, if you've seen my video on Google turning Street View into a video game using Genie, then you know that technique for spatial RAG, essentially loading up the sequential panos that are nearby and putting that into the context window, is how you get Omni and video models like it to create faithful renditions of real-world locations. And so that's where this is going. Rather than Google relying on this model having soaked up every single Street View panorama and being able to reproduce it on the fly, you can actually just give it the relevant set of panoramas and get a faithful, close to one-to-one rendition rather than the approximate rendition that we're seeing today. And so these approaches to me are very exciting because it's a way for us to get the best of both worlds. We can create fantastical, crazy visual effects that are actually anchored in the real world as it is. Now, there's a bunch of people out there that are comparing Seedance with Google Omni Flash, like this great comparison by GS Films. And if you look at these, you'll notice that Flash kind of sucks compared to Seedance. And so my take on this is like, Omni is just not that good at text to video or image to video. Those are reasons, if that's your goal, I'm going to go use something like Veo or probably just Seedance, because right now, Seedance is better than Veo itself. Here's another great one by JS Films. You'll see Seedance just looks better. But where Omni does excel right now is visual effects and editing. So if you look at this generation by Martin over here, he wanted to do this creation where you basically like lift up the TV, crush the screen, and it falls down, right? That's a pretty damn hard thing to do the good old-fashioned way. Motion tracking, visual effects required. You've got a 3D asset that's getting like, you know, crushed up. You've got the reflections to worry about. Of course, you got to composite all of this stuff together. I'm not saying you can't do it. It just takes a long time. But now it's a freaking video prompt and a text prompt. Oh my God. In many ways, this reminds me of Pika ingredients and the editing capabilities, but with a quality dial turned up drastically because, of course, Google's got like YouTube to train on. Here's another great example by Yoko Hara. Basically, if you're taking like a mailbox over here and you want to like pretend like somebody's in there, you want to have motion graphics animated on it. Like literally to me, Omni is sort of like a visual effects After Effects replacement. That's kind of how I've been thinking about it. Like think of all of like adding spikes on it. Oh gosh. All the work that you would have had to do in the Blender Maya, you know, kind of motion tracking, getting the lighting to look good. And then, as I mentioned, compositing it all together. The homie Min had another great example. Basically, it's like, make it have less people in it. Cool. You can remove the crowd very easily from shots that you're doing. All the painstaking things where you had to do like segmentation, selection, remove folks or add folks. All of those things get a lot easier. So the kind of tasks that you would give to a visual effect compositing artist to do in like Nuke or DaVinci Resolve or even something like After Effects, those are the kind of things that I would lean on Omni for. And gosh, is it good at people and character replacements. If you just say, make everyone in this shot a flamingo wearing the same outfit, like, look, even look at the lighting of the numbers that are falling from the projection, including the reflection in the back. This is where these models are more than just naive video to video. They really flex their understanding of the world and the subject matter in the content that they've been fed. So Renee did this thing inspired by the homie Rourke, a great example of just showing this Pika-like effects, where if you wanted to add objects into existing videos, it's very easy to do. Your video itself doesn't get transformed also. You can have a lot of fun changing liquids, things like this, making things transparent. And when you put your face behind something, even if it was occluded in the video, it does a really good job of reconstructing it. This trend has become really popular if you want like stuff to pop out of your screen. Really, really cool. And this is what I mean by like rotating things around and having the reflections and the refractions all really, really hold up. The homie Jared was inspired by this clip as well and made something very cool, like follow these paths in a continuous shot. And his innovation is you could just ask the model to put the arrows in, right? And so then it'll follow it for you, which is really cool. Oh, that's cool. Thanks to Google for the shout out. So where is this going? I think this post by Nick gives us a good sense. He basically started off recording his TV and then said, hey, Omni, that TV is actually a hole in the wall so that when you walk into it, it sort of reprojected the video to give you this parallax effect. The model understands what we're talking about. So when I look at this, something that looks like an augmented reality portal, where it almost looks like volumetric video, where you can move around and have the video tracking your head, maybe a future version of Omni will be capable of doing this. Since this is an omnimodal model, right? Any input in, any input out. What is 3D video? Basically, it's multi-view video. And beyond that, it's volumetric video. So I could very easily see this paradigm expanding to a world where we can take just simple 2D videos and get volumetric 3D renditions. And by the way, right now we have task-specific models done by Google DeepMind, such as Cat 4D, that do exactly this, where it will take a single input video and then using predecessors to Omni, in this case, Omni would do this even better, ask it to hallucinate different camera viewpoints, and then they kind of stitch it all together so you get this dynamic 3D scene. And by the way, these models are completely interactive, so these are actual generations. But the point remains the same. Right now, this is like this multi-stage pipeline. Maybe in the future, it could be native video in and native Gaussian splat out. That's what I'm excited about. Now look, back in September, I really just wanted one thing, which is Nano Banana for video. And as they say, ask and you shall receive. That's what we're getting, ladies and gentlemen. Basically, the ability to take any input in and get any input out, starting with video, of course. To me, this is like industrial light and magic. Like, think about what this is. It's actually really an insanely realistic augmented reality filter that you can apply on demand to anyone's footage. Like, imagine what it would have taken to reproduce this Matrix scene, right? Like the good old-fashioned way. Oh, I touch a window, it ripples, and suddenly a metallic T1000 style skin effect goes up on your hands. Like, doing that would be painstaking. Ain't nobody got time to do that, certainly for hundreds of people. Now imagine you wanted to do a campaign, anyone could do this. Now it's just a text and image prompt. You hand it over to people and suddenly you can have an offline AR filter. And if you look at the trajectory of how we got here, it's insane. Like before Nano Banana, the earlier image gen models, like it's crazy how good they were at full scene understanding to be able to take that generation and produce the wireframe version of that. So to me, the bigger theme here is that with the rise of these natively multimodal models that are trained on a variety of inputs beyond just capturing video, they're going to be much more intelligent, right? Because it's suddenly like talking to a creator that understands the world that's using a tool. What I mean by that is if you ask for something, it can pull on its world knowledge to execute that for you. And think about what we've had to do previously, right? Like basically we've got a bunch of these comfy UI and Photoshop workflows, you know, and previously you had control nets and LoRa's and IP adapters, like all the stuff that we had to wrangle together. Now it starts feeling like we're talking to a creative partner. This thing understands visual effects, but it's also seen the world. So if I say, hey, create a diagram of how to explain 3D scanning to somebody and then animate in such and such way, it can pull on that world knowledge to create something fantastic. And perhaps even more interesting, I can't wait to see how these offline models converge with the real-time autoregressive models. Anyway, if you want to go deeper into how to take these sort of AI video models, whether real-time and offline, and condition them with actual street view and oblique imagery, check out this video over here that I just made about Genie and Street View. And if you're curious about how companies are building this new 3D map of the world, which will be yet another source of training data for companies like Google and beyond, check out this video over here. Bilawal signing off, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Cheers.